Hi, boys and girls, Mr. Ruba here. So this week in Foundations, we are going to continue to explore our suffixes, okay? Now, our suffixes are these yellow cards that we have added to our wall, and you have added to your magnetic letter tiles here at school. Remember, a suffix is at the end of a word. There's many different reasons why we put these suffixes at the end of a word. Some reasons may be because the word is plural. There's more than one of something. We may add it because it's something that someone did already, so it's past tense. It may be something we add to a word because that person or something is happening right now. And then we have other ones that we use when we're comparing things. So if something is more than something else, then we may add a specific suffix at the end of that word. Remember, with suffixes, there are two kinds of suffixes. The first type of suffix is a vowel suffix, and that's these right here. That is why these are in a column. They're called a vowel suffix because they begin with a vowel. So here, these begin with E's, and the last one here begins with an I. The second type of suffix is called a consonant suffix, and that is over here. And we'll begin to build more suffixes under our consonant column here as we go on more. But for right now, the only consonant suffix that we've talked about is the S. Again, it's not a vowel suffix because it does not have a vowel in front of it. Okay? All right. Now, I do want today to talk a little bit more about our suffix ed. Okay, the ed suffix actually has 3 sounds that it can make. So that's why it can be a little tricky when you're spelling words that have an ed at the end, because they make 3 different sounds. And some of them aren't even sounds that have letters that are in the suffix. So I want to give you an example of a word, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by all 3 sounds that the ed makes. All right, let's go ahead and tap out this word together first. Ready? Hands up. Rent. Rent. Now, if I were to add this suffix, let's listen to see what sound this makes when we say the whole word together. Rented. 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 It makes that id sound, right? Let me just move this up a little bit. So it makes that almost like that id sound. Rented. Okay? And that's why sometimes when we're spelling a word with ed, we might want to put an id. But we have to remember that an ed is a suffix. So as long as you have your base word, then you know that when you hear an id at the end, that it's an ed. Rented. Remember, ed is used for past tense. So if someone did something already, then we use the ed. Rented, meaning someone rented something already. They already did it. Okay, so this is an example of the id sound that ed makes. Okay. Let me give you another word. All right, let's go ahead and tap this word out together. Ready? Hands up. J. Okay. Ready? Let's do it again. Ch. Jump. Jump. Now, if I were to say that someone already did that, I'm going to add the ed. She jumped, meaning she already did it. Let's go ahead and say that word and let's listen carefully to what sound this ed makes. Ready? Jumped, jumped. It makes that t sound like a T. This time it sounds like a t, jumped, jumped. Okay, it does not have that id, jumped sound. Okay, so here's another example of a sound that ed makes with the T, jumped. All right. All right, let me give you the next one. Let's go ahead and tap this word out. Fill, when you fill something. But if it's something I've already done, I filled, I'm going to go ahead and add that ed because, again, the suffix means something that's already been done before. Ed. All right. We know that this word has a bonus letter here. We've noticed that. But we need to see what sound this ed makes in this word. So let's say this word together. Filled. Filled. D. It makes that D sound. So that is the third sound that an ed makes. Okay, it makes that D sound. Filled. It does not sound like fill-id, and it does not sound like filled. It's filled. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give some more examples, and we're going to find out which sound the ed makes, whether it makes the id sound, the t sound, or the d sound. All right. Just a reminder that when we are tapping out words with suffixes, we don't tap out the suffix. We only tap out the base word, okay, which is the word in front of the suffix. All right, so let's look at this word. Let's go ahead and tap it out. Id. Hunted. Hunted. Id. So it makes that id sound. Now, let me show you when it comes to marking what we need to do. So we know we have a suffix, so we need to circle our suffix. I noticed too in this word it has a blend, NT. And very important that we scoop our word and we either say that it's a closed syllable or a closed syllable exception. When we scoop with a word with a suffix, we only scoop the base word. We don't scoop the suffix. Now, when I scoop this or underline, I look at the vowel sound. And if he makes a short vowel and is followed by a consonant, and there's only one of him, then he's closed. If that you says his name, then it's an exception. So let's look. Short. So it is a closed syllable. I put my bread on top of the U, and that's it. Now, something new that we are going to do is when we see the ed suffix, we want you to actually write what sound it makes on top. So for instance, hunted makes that id sound. So on top of the suffix, I'm going to write ID, and I put those sound lines on either side. That just means that this is what it sounds like. Okay, so again, when you're marking a word with the suffix ed, you want to write on top what sound it makes. So hunted. Okay. All right. All right, let's go ahead and tap out this new word and let's listen to see what sound that ed makes. Ink. Blinked. I blinked. When your eyes blink and they've already done it, they blinked. Blinked. Okay, so let's look. We have a suffix, so we need to circle the suffix. In here, this one has a glued sound, the I and K. We need to box that. It has a blend, BL. Then we need to scoop our base word and listen to that vowel. Ink, short. So it's going to be a closed syllable with a brev on top. Now we have an ed, so we need to make sure we put what sound it makes on top. Blinked, blinked, makes that T sound. So I'm going to go ahead and put my T in my sound bars. Just like that. Blinked. All right. Let's do one more. All right. Here's our next word. Let's go ahead and tap it out. Spilled. Spilled. So looking at this word, I have a suffix, so I need to circle it. It has a bonus letter. It has a blend, SP. And I need to scoop my base word and listen to this vowel. It. So it's a closed syllable. And I mark it with a breath. Now, I'm not done. Remember, if we have an ed at the end of a word, we need to mark it not only by circling it, but also saying what sound it makes, because ed has 3 sounds. So let's listen to the way it sounds when we read this word. Spilled. Spilled. So it makes that D sound. So we're going to go ahead and put a D in the sound bars. Spilled. All right. All right, so let's just go over again real quick. The three sounds that ed makes. Okay, 3 sounds. First sound is ID. The second sound it makes is a T. And the last sound I can make is a D. D. Okay, so those are the 3 sounds that ed can make. All right, boys and girls, great job. Now you're going to go ahead and complete the ed activity on Seesaw. All right, see you guys later.